Here's a bit more of what I've experienced since I initially installed openSUSE Leap 42.2. Now, I have it on an external drive, and it's not my main system, but I have tried everything I would need to try if I were going to make it my main system. You may notice that I've tweaked the desktop quite a bit. I show how to do this in my video on Kubuntu 16.04. And I've put the link to that in the notes under this video if you want to see just what I did to tweak the desktop. I have the HP Device Manager installed, but I was unable to install my printer using the HP Device Manager. Instead, I use the printer configuration tool in YAST. Now, since it's already installed, I'm not going to be able to show you how I did that, but here's the printer. Once I had it installed, the HP Device Manager worked very well. For instance, I was able to check the ink levels, which is something you can't do with the normal CUPS printer drivers. So it worked. It was just a little trickier than it might have been otherwise. In that regard, I also tried the scanner function of my printer scanner. Using Scanlight, the KDE scan utility, and it worked perfectly also. I had to click on Preview in order to do a crop, and it was not clear exactly how to crop it. There were no instructions readily available. But I accidentally discovered that by left-clicking on the image, I was able to drag my cursor across and indicate a crop selection. And that worked. Click on Scan. And the scan is finished. Now I'm going to save it. And look for the image in the file manager, and here it is. So the scanner worked well also. Here we are in a different desktop background. I also have an Epson V300 scanner, and I was able to install that using the RPM files that I normally use with Fedora. Now, Fedora files don't usually also work with openSUSE and vice versa, but they did in this case. Now here it says HPLIP cannot detect devices in your network. This may be due to existing firewall settings. Well, HPLIP is not concerned with this scanner at all. That's just appeared gratuitously, and as you can see, the scanner worked despite that little notice. Image scan for Linux, which is the Epson utility, opened. I'm going to make it full screen. Now I'm going to click on Preview. And I have it set on flatbed, and it's actually ready to scan in negative. So I have to change that. I'm going to change that to TPU negative film, and in this case to black and white photo. Now I'm going to click on Preview again. Now it's scanned the negative film. I'm going to select an area to zoom into. This is going to be approximate. Now I'm going to click on Zoom. And the area I picked is enlarged. First I want to change to 2400 dots per inch. Now the little dotted line shows the zoom area. I'm going to redo that more precisely now that it's enlarged. And then click on Scan. Now it shows a PCX file format, which is not what I want, but as I can tell, I don't have PNG or JPG libraries installed. I'm going to install those later, but for now I'm going to just leave it as PCX, change the name, and click on OK. Scanner is taking a long time, but I'm recording video at the same time, so that may explain that. So the scan is complete. I'm going to close Image Scan and see what it looks like in GIMP. And there's my scan. I'm going to press Control-Shift-J to make it as large as I can within that window. And that's that issue. Now I'm going back into the software manager, the Kde Software Manager. Not going to wait for all that to take place. I installed two applications that I frequently use that are usually not included with the ISO images, LibreCAD, and you can see that's installed already. I found that in the openSUSE repositories. And I also installed Musescore. You can see that's installed. I didn't find that in the repositories, however. I used the openSUSE one-click install process, which I discussed in my earlier video, to install Musescore. So this is what I did. I opened Firefox. And I searched for Musescore in openSUSE. Musescore for openSUSE. And I opened the first application that appeared. Now here it was available for Leap 42.1. When I clicked on that, it took me to another page. And there I searched and I found it for Leap 42.2. Now it says show unstable packages. So I clicked on that. Those are the only packages available for 42.2. And it says these packages are unofficial, etc. That's fine. I'm used to that. It's available from a number of sources. And I clicked on the one from education, the education repository. I'm not going to go through that process since I've already installed it. Now, there is a software updating utility that's part of the panel there, but when that showed a missing dependency, it never did anything. It just kept beeping and it wouldn't go anywhere because of the missing dependency. I unfortunately can't repeat that now, but that's what happened. So rather than use that for updating my system, I went back to Kde again. And I used the online update utility. This is much more detailed. Now, first of all, you notice that the first utility showed that my system was up to date. This utility shows that there are still things left to update. So I'm going to update both the security and the optional updates. And that shows you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to click on Accept. Now I'm not going to wait for this entire process to finish. But basically with this utility, when there are missing dependencies, it will give you three choices. You can either eliminate the application for which the dependency is missing. You can skip updating that particular application, or you can update it with the missing dependency and hope that nothing goes wrong. Now, these choices may confuse the new user, but basically, at least they give you some control over the process. Now I'm going back to install remove software again. Now this time I'm going to try to install Discover, which is the KDE Software Manager. It's got a lot more pictures than YAST does, but I assumed that openSUSE did not include it by default because Discover is still kind of buggy in my experience. It hasn't worked well in the distributions which did include it, but I thought I would try it anyway to see how it worked. So I'm going to click on Discover. And click on Accept. And it shows you what's going to be changed. I'm going to click on Continue. Now it's beginning to download the files. This went fairly quickly, so I'll just let it proceed. So the installation is successfully finished. I'm going to click on Finish. Now I'm going to try to open Discover. There it is under System. And it's loading. However, it doesn't seem to be populating. Click on Applications, nothing shows. Click on Accessories, nothing shows. I am connected to the internet by a wired connection, which is quite reliable, so I'm sure it's not a Wi-Fi problem. Science and Engineering, nothing shows. It just isn't populating. There may be a way of fixing it, but for now anyway, Discover didn't work with openSUSE, and as I assumed, that's probably why they didn't include it by default. So that's a brief look at openSUSE Leap 42.2 as I've experienced it so far. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.